So, what is stressing you guys out right now?
You want to start, Zuzu?
Sure. Okay. Well, school's always stressing me out.
Mm-hmm.
Work,
Thank you.
just doing assignments in general. And currently, I think the thing that's most stressing me out right now is like trying to get a summer internship.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Willa?
School, the state of the world, my BFA show, coming up.
Huge
Just
things.
a lot of expectation and deadlines to meet. How about you?
I very much relate to that. I think right now the biggest thing that's stressing me out is like the big picture of everything. I feel like I'm at the point in my college career where I like need to start getting serious. And I'm like ready to start getting serious and I'm not. You know what I mean? So it's kind of that mix of like I have so many things to do and nothing to do at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
An odd middle ground.
An odd middle ground. An odd middle ground.
Yes.
Yeah. We're vibing, but
Yes.
it's odd.
So what are you doing to handle that?
I don't know. I think it's like taking it one day at a time is really important. And I think that's something I forget to do a lot. But I think like trying to get more into the mindset of taking it one day at a time and like journaling. And I think like thinking about like what exactly is impacting me. Because when you're thinking about the big picture, it's like there's so many layers of things that can be stressing you out and bothering you. But like most of the time it really is like one thing that's like getting at you. So I think kind of like looking inside myself and being like, this is bothering me at the moment. How do I solve that? What about you guys?
I try and spend time with people who ground me. I tend to quite easily get on that path of like anxiety, stress spiral. And so there are people in my life that really ground me, that can bring me back to reality, kind of know what to say to be like, hey girl, it's okay. It's really okay. You've always met your deadlines. That's not going to change now. Nature is really helpful. Being out and getting sun and fresh air is just amazing. But
Vitamin D.
yeah.
I agree. Like sometimes just get so in your head about something and then you like tell someone else about it and they're just like, oh, just do this. And you're like, oh, like just getting a new perspective on things can just like really help you figure a situation out and feel more prepared for it. Despite you might still feel stressed about it. Like it won't go away, but you can handle it better, hopefully. One of the things that I heard I found when I was looking into things about stress was this quote that I really liked that said, stress is the price of a meaningful life. And I really like that because it's like, yes, there's a lot of these things, school, work, relationships, all these things that they can be very stressful, but they're worth it. And like, despite feeling that stress, you still want to pursue those things because like they have value.
That's very beautiful.
Yeah, I really resonate with that because it's like everything that is stressing me out in my world right now is something I feel very blessed to have. You know what I mean? I'm like pursuing a career I'm excited about. I'm in college, which is like such a blessing to be in.
Have you guys ever found stress to be like a deterrent to your daily life at all?
Yes, like I have turned like down opportunities and things because they scared me too much, and like that's rather unfortunate. But yeah, sometimes it happens, and yeah, not good.
It's so normal though.
Yeah,
at the same time, you know what I mean? It's like I've had moments where I've like avoided something because I felt so anxious about it, and then I look back and I'm like, dang, it would have been really fun and cool if I like actually committed to that and just did it, Yeah.
How do you guys feel when you get to overcome that stress?
Feels good.
Yes.
It feels like a weight off your shoulder for sure.
Yeah,
You feel really proud of yourself.
Yeah, it's like I did the thing.
Yeah.
I did the thing.
Yeah, you get a feeling of like pride, like yes, okay, and then you realize it's much easier after the fact to realize, oh, that was worth it. Okay.
Yeah. Like, thank you, self. I'm glad we did that.
Advocating for our joy and our happiness.
Truly. And I feel like sometimes there's things in my life that like stress me out and then I overcome it, or maybe I face it, or maybe I just think about it harder and it's like, does this really need to be, like the topic of my stress. Like, do you guys ever kind of think that, where you're like, something's really overwhelming you, and then you realize, and it's like, it's really not that deep in a way. Like, of course it was deep to you in the moment, but like, it's something you can pass.
Totally. I mean, having that kind of, I don't know if self-awareness is the right word or just awareness, but that acknowledgement of like, oh my gosh, maybe this isn't as big in the grand scheme, like being able to take that step back. It's like, you can then, you don't have to rely on the other people to ground you. You now can just have yourself and have that power within yourself to have that kind of like control, and not in a bad way. Sometimes control, I feel like, can be like have a negative connotation, but I think it could be a really beautiful thing too. And like, I think it's very important to be able to be like, hey girl, let's chill.
Yeah,
It's really okay. Like, it's really okay. No, for real. Getting to a movie on time stresses me out. I'm like, girl, it is not that deep.
No one's waiting for you at the door.
Nobody's going to punish you or like get mad at you for being late. Like, nobody. There's ads. There's trailers at the beginning, Queen.
You got like at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, you don't gotta be there like 5 minutes before the movie starts in your seat. But our stress does tend to manifest itself in parts of our lives where it doesn't seem to make that much sense. And, you know, where it makes it feel where you're building stuff up way bigger than it needs to be. I think that's an interesting thing we tend to do.
Yeah. I feel like I feel that feeling the most when I'm not taking care of other needs in my life. Like, I'm hungry. Suddenly me being late to class is like the biggest tragedy that's ever happened. And it's not. And it's never will be. And it's never been. But like, I didn't get good sleep last night. Things are a bigger deal. You know, like when you're not taking care of yourself, I feel like things affect you emotionally a lot more.
So much worse.
Yeah.
Well, shall we talk about some of our personal stress relieving techniques?
Absolutely. Do you want to start?
Oh my gosh, wait, me? Really?
Yeah.
I gave a shot to, typically in the past, cooking. Not something that relieves my stress in any capacity. It is something that tends to the quickness of it all. I don't like burnt things, and so I just, you know, gotta react fast, pay attention. It tends to stress me out more. So I did give it a shot, again, in a more controlled environment. It remained the same. It was not much of a stress relief for me personally.
What did you cook?
I'm not much of a good cook, so I tend to skip or stick in the section of like pasta and maybe like tacos, like, you know, some refried beans and rice or something.
The good stuff.
So I was making some refried beans at the time. I like to mash up my little beans and then put all my little seasonings in there. So some refried beans and some rice and guac for tacos. The tacos were really good, don't get me wrong, but the process of making them was not. So, but then on that flip side, I also gave meditation something that since high school I learned was something that really helps me, because it provides kind of an ability to ground myself when I don't have the people around me to do it. And it taught me kind of early on to just be like kind to yourself. It's okay if your mind strays. It's okay if, you know, you're not breathing exactly how you have to just be patient and kind. And I really enjoy meditation in all forms, anywhere, outside, inside, with people around me or not people around me. It's something that I can kind of carry with me, even in the classroom. Sometimes I find I'm working on something and it's not going my way. And if I just take 30 seconds to just close my eyes, breathe a little bit, and clear my head, I really can open my eyes, and it feels like I'm in a new like state of mind. It's like, I feel like the world's brighter. All the sounds around me are a little bit softer, and I feel a bit more centered. I really love meditation, guys.
What does your meditation routine look like?
I always sit crisscross applesauce, or I lay flat on my back. If my back's feeling a little tired. And then I will stare straight forward for about 5 seconds while I breathe a little bit, because I got ADHD, that mind's running all the time. So seeing things will kind of get me centered to begin with, and then I'll take a deep breath as I close my eyes, and then I just kind of repeat over and over in my head, breathe, breathe, breathe. Like the entire time. If my mind shifts to some random thought, I kindly go, thank you for sharing that thought. We're going to move away from that now and get back to say, breathe, breathe, breathe. And just move very slow. So that's kind of how I approach it. Do you guys meditate at all?
See, like, what's interesting for me is, like, meditation doesn't really work that well for me, but I really enjoy cooking and baking. It's kind of a little bit flipped because for me, doing, like, stirring the pot, whatever, doing all like it distracts me from like whatever's stressing me out versus like meditation. I just cannot get my brain to just like shut up. But I haven't tried like repeating. I like that idea. Thank you. I haven't tried that, so perhaps I need to try that method out.
Yeah, when I first started meditating and like looking, like researching it and such, so much of the so much of the like sites or whatever giving you tips, they kind of don't tell you to repeat things to yourself, and it never really worked if I don't have a word to kind of fill the void, then that void gets too full, and I just can't so I do find having even just like a phrase, like breathe in, breathe out, or just like today's a good day or something, just like, and that is the only thing your mind is saying to you, can be really nice. But do you
I feel like I can get kind of anxious with meditation. I feel like the concept of like telling myself like to breathe or breathe in and out can like feel overwhelming sometimes, because then it's like, am I breathing? You know what I mean? Which I think is just like more of an internal thing. But I do really enjoy yoga. And I do really enjoy kind of like laying in bed in the dark and like just not thinking. I do the same thing in the bath, which I guess is my own little form of meditation in a way.
Yeah.
But I kind of like to just zone out and just be in my own world. I think that helps me a lot. But I think like structured meditation can sometimes feel like almost like I'm like forcing myself to do it, and then I like am like get to in my head, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that definitely does. Totally.
But cooking's kind of similar for me. I'm not a very good cook. I really do enjoy like making noodles. Like I like very simple tasks, but I think with others, like I think I struggle with the idea of like, what if it's not good enough, or what if it's not good enough? You know what I mean? That's about it, and I think I'm like, I get really in my head with that. But the things I tried out this week were kind of hand in hand, but something that really helps me like decompress is basically self-care, which sounds really basic, but kind of like a big thing I've been trying lately is taking my mornings slower. I work really early in the morning. I open a donut shop. That's my current hustle.
Heck yeah.
And I get up at like 5 a.m. and then I just rush out of the door like in like a sloppy outfit and a beanie, which is like a good time. But I saw on an Instagram reel that my mom sent me once that taking an extra 10 minutes in the morning leads to like a better 10 hours. And I thought that was really beautiful. And like, it kind of does help. Like sometimes like, it's like I'll do my hair in a fun hairstyle, and like, it sounds silly, but it makes me feel so good. And it makes me feel more awake when I'm like, I don't know, I put thought into like either what I'm wearing or what I'm feeling, or I had time to like sit and read before work. So kind of taking that time was really nice for me. Like today I like listened to some vinyls while I got ready, and I like just stood away from my phone and kind of just like got to chill. And that was really nice.
May I ask what vinyls?
Today I was listening to Home Video by Lucy Dacus.
Oh my gosh, girl. I love that album.
Yeah. Big Lucy Dacus girl.
So good.
Big Lucy Dacus girl. Yeah. But that was my morning listen while I got ready. And it just made me happy. That's an album I've loved since high school. And it's just like, I don't know, I think taking time to feel like me is very important. But what I tried that didn't work for me, but like surprisingly it kind of did in the same way, is kind of, I was doing a lot of research on like stress tactics and kind of thinking like what does work for me and what doesn't. And a big one that stood out to me was doing the most important thing of your day first. And so I I got home from work, because like work is kind of like I just start it and then I go. But I came home from work and I had more work to do. And I immediately hopped on my computer and got like 40 minutes of work done. And you guys will see the little time lapse of me doing that. But you know, it like actually felt kind of good in a way, but also like I remember sitting there and it's like I could be putting so much more heart into this if I was like more rested and felt more me and felt more like invested in the task, I guess. I think I need that slowness to rush, if that makes sense. And I think that's something I like have been learning about myself recently, but like really honed in on when I was like doing this kind of like diving into the experiment of myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you guys? Are you very much like taking it slow people or kind of jumping into it?
I'm a jumping into it type of gal.
Really?
I like wake up, and even if it's like 6 a.m., when I'm up, and like my body just is like, okay, like you gotta go. And I do struggle. I find that if I don't like get my day started when I wake up, I get really stressed because I am like, I don't know what's gonna happen towards the end of the day. I don't know if something's gonna come up and I don't have time to get this done. Or so I do like whenever I wake up, I'm pretty much immediately like on my computer or going to the studio, like doing stuff. So
do you find that your leisure time is normally towards the end of your day?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Like by the time the sun goes down, I am like done. I am so tired, and like I'm just a very wake up, go as hard as you can for as long as you can, and then just like crash at the end.
Yeah. What about you, Susie?
I wish I was like that. But unfortunately, I cannot get myself to move in the morning. So then I'm more of a night owl, and then I stay up too late. Anyway, problematic. I would like to be better about that. But then I guess that causes me more stress later. So
Yeah.
I think I'm like in the middle where it's kind of like I very much like wake up early and go to bed kind of early. Like I'm kind of in my grandma era right now. But I take little breaks in between, and I'm a big napper.
Oh,
like I will always take a nap if I need a nap. And I think that's like done wonders, honestly. You know what I mean? Like a structured nap time is good, and we should bring that back. Yeah.
Was it 10 minutes of
10 minutes to make a better 10 hours?
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. I love that. And that's something I'm definitely gonna like tell myself now when I wake up really early in the morning. I'm like, you don't need breakfast, girl. I'll be like, no.
You do.
Take those 10 minutes. It's gonna be a much better 10 hours than it would have been. I really enjoyed that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, one of my tactics that I did that was reminding me of that is like taking time in the morning to do something was in the morning I made tea for myself. And it was it was an alright experience. I tried to make it like extra special, and I like got out cute glass and put the creamer in a little jar and whatever. It had little sugar cubes because when I was like reading it up onto this tactic, like what makes it especially like stress relieving is like the ritual of it and like leaning into that, spending time for yourself, and yeah, just taking the time to make this warm, steaming mug of tea, right? Unfortunately, that did not help me very much. I mean, it was all right. Like, I can definitely see how it can help people. But, like, again, like I was saying, it was a little too quiet for me. And I was like, just alone with my thoughts, drinking some tea that also I don't really enjoy tea, the taste that much either. But, like, I could definitely see, and if perhaps I did work it into a routine and, you know, maybe modified it so I listen to music as well when I do this, like, I could definitely see how, like, someone could, that could be very helpful for people. But yeah, I just guess I don't have the palate for tea.
Can I ask what kind of tea it
It's peppermint and a lot of sugar.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but what does work for me, what I like to do is I like to go for walks. But then again, like if you're just walking around alone with your thoughts, that doesn't work for me. So what I like to do is I walk with a purpose. Sometimes I take my camera with me and I will go and look for photo opportunities, what I think is looking cool, or I will count things. I like to count dogs. I like to look at dogs, and then I'll try and like identify the breed or whatever, or focus on that color. I'll be like, okay, whatever, and that sort of helps me be mindful about nature and whatever I'm seeing and take my mind off of whatever's stressing me out as well.
I really want to start doing that idea of like bringing my camera or like trying to identify certain things. I think that's really sweet.
And that counting, like it further enforces like presence in what you're doing, because you have to actually be aware of what's around you, and I think that's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
But why do you guys think we feel so stressed all the time?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
Maybe we could ask somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
I wonder if we had somebody, I don't know,
To talk to.
You know, it's kind of crazy because there's this guy I've heard of, Randolph M. Nessie, who wrote like this crazy book or whatever, called Good Reasons for Bad Feelings. And so let me tell you, ladies, there are good reasons for the bad feelings that we have, okay?
We needed to hear that. We really did.
It is A-okay.
Tell us more.
So this book is he's a doctor and evolutionary anthropologist, as well as like a cultural anthropologist. And so a lot of this book talks about mental health disorders and kind of where they sit within society now. And one thing he kind of talks about is why stress has prevailed. I mean, for starters, we're not created perfectly, you know, like we're not. So obviously all of our attempts, all of the things within us that are attempting to help us survive are not always going to help us survive to the fullest extent. We're not made in perfection, but there's kind of a natural, understandable way that stress and things like stress, anxiety, paranoia get passed down from generation to generation. People who are more stressed, more anxious, they're probably going to be more likely to be more careful. And so they're going to be more likely to live and be able to pass those traits on to younger, their offsprings and, more children and such. So there's that kind of natural passing down of this trait that kind of exists, and stress was created as a survival attempt to help us survive. I mean, above all else, at least I have kind of realized through delving into stress, it almost is like a motivator in a lot of ways. It's like, you need to get this done, and it's like, oh my god, I'm so stressed, I have all these things, but it's like that stress is a motivator. That stress of, if we're going back to, like throwing us back in the Serengeti, it's like that stress of, where am I going to get my next food? Well, now I'm motivated to go and find it. How am I going to survive wintertime? Well, now I'm motivated. That stress is going to motivate me to prepare for that wintertime.
Yeah.
So it's something that exists within us that is trying to help us. But we're in a world now where it doesn't match up as easily. And so that stress, it's like, oh, well, I don't need to stress about where I'm going to get my next meal because I can just go to the grocery store. I don't have to like kill a lion and like or like hunt down like a deer or something.
Yeah.
I could just go and buy like some strawberries and popcorn and lemonade, and I'm gonna be sitting pretty, And so it finds itself kind of manifesting in ways that don't make a lot of sense. It's like, why am I sitting here so stressed to call somebody? Like, why am I sitting here so stressed, to get to the movie on time, or to get to the concert, and so it's just, I think it's something interesting where we're very mismatched with the world we live in and how we are created. And so our stress doesn't really know where to sit. And it makes us sometimes, I think, feel a bit misunderstood, and feel a bit like angry at ourselves and kind of like almost disappointed in ourselves. Like, why are you even feeling this stress? But it's just your brain trying to do the best that it can with what it's given. I don't know. I think it's kind of beautiful, personally.
Connecting it to motivation is really cool, because I think stress is something that like naturally weighs you down, but it's like it almost forces you to be like, I need to push this weight off of me.
Yeah.
Evolution's a crazy thing.
Evolution's a crazy thing.
Wow.
I feel like that just really drives home the point, like, stop stressing about stressing. Like, you already have these things that are stressing you out. Don't stress about the stress that you already have.
Right.
And being able to reframe that in your mind as like, oh, it's my body motivating me to complete these things that I need to do or whatever. And yeah, I feel like that's a nice thing to know about. And like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like, everybody has stress. There's
Everybody
not a single
feels that.
person who doesn't stress out. And if you do know somebody, let me know.
They're
No, for
crazy. They're
real.
the crazy
Because
ones.
I've never heard of anybody.
How'd you get there? No, and
Yeah.
that's like, I even remember when I first was told to read this book via a teacher, she said to us, she was like, this book will not solve your problems. You'll still have that stress, but it can kind of allow us to have a better understanding, maybe, of how we work as beings, and that stress is natural. It is something that we don't have to be annoyed, ashamed, embarrassed of, and we really should just be kinder to ourselves when we are feeling it and take care of ourselves, use it as a motivator, use it as a positive,
I think it's very comforting to hear how like natural and scientific stress can be. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's such a feeling that feels so much bigger than yourself. When at the end of the day, it's really not. You know what I mean? It's all your nerve endings and like your heart beating too fast and all of that.
It doesn't have to be this like scary, mysterious thing that we don't talk about. Like,
Yeah.
no, we can break it down, and it's really helpful to have that knowledge to like reframe it. And it's also interesting, to like learn about what's going on in your body. And something else that we all tried, sort of along the same vein of learning what's happening, I looked into the science behind it. What we all did was we dunked our faces into ice cold water.
Indeed.
Yes. So when I was looking into this, I discovered that what is helpful about this is that when you do that and you put your face in that water, it triggers your vagus nerve, which is, again, something I had to look into a little bit more because I didn't know what it was. Basically, it controls some different parts of your body, but the two most important things that's relevant to this conversation is your blood pressure and your heart rate. So when you're in a very stressful situation, your heart can be racing, you just like feel like you can feel it so much. And this is probably like one of the situations that would be most helpful to do this in, is when you're stuck in that like really tough, overwhelming cycle. And so your vagus nerve is like, okay, we need to calm down. So it actually slows down your heart rate. And so then your body goes into this mode of like, all right, we're going to be okay. Your heartbeat is slowing down. And then you're sort of hacking your body into getting yourself to calm down. And another term that they sort of call this is the diving effect, which something it was similar to if you were to fully submerge yourself into this cold water. Your body's like, whoa, there's too much going on. We need to go into survival mode. And what that survival mode looks like is actually, instead of like, it's like, no, we need to conserve energy. So it slows your body down. And you can do this, like I said, in this sort of situation. Pretty easy to do. It's sort of a quick fix that you can do pretty much just like in your house with a bowl of water and some ice. Yeah, so let's get into our personal experiences with it. How was it for you guys?
When you first proposed the idea to us, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna hate that. Like, that was my first immediate thought. I'm a big like hot shower girl. When I'm stressed, like I'll take a hot shower, a hot bath, kind of like shock myself into chill. But I really enjoyed it. I think it was really connecting to the earth in a way. And like, I just did it in my kitchen and like, I wasn't stressed. I didn't really have any feelings on my heart, but I put my head in the water and I just felt really connected with myself and really real. Willa mentioned something really like cool. It was kind of like the world felt brighter a little bit. And I think that's how I felt in that moment.
Yes.
Doing it for sure.
Yeah, I didn't think I would feel anger towards Zuzu, but I did. When I first put my head in the water, I went, oh, how dare she? This She did no research. This was unfounded. She just wanted us to stick our head in water. No, I was, as Emily said as well, like very well, this is intense. This is not the most enjoyable experience. But then that coming out of it, taking your head out was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
The world's brighter. Oh my gosh. And I really felt a lot more grounded. And so it takes a very quick turn where you're like in the water, hating your life, and then you come out and you forget that you even felt that way to begin with. You really feel calmer. How was your experience, Suzu?
I felt very similarly. I was sort of like regretting bringing this up, and I was like, oh, maybe I should not have suggested this. I don't want to do it. But I was like, all right, we're gonna lock in. We're gonna fully commit to this. So I got myself a big bowl of water, dumped a ton of ice into it, and then I held my face under the water for 30 seconds, which is sort of the suggested time that I was able to find in my research. But it doesn't have to be that long, of course. But in doing that, yes, during the 30 seconds of actually doing it, it sucked. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. It's freezing. I hate this. Why did I do this? But then, as soon as my timer went up, I came up, I was like, oh, wow, wait, I feel refreshed. Like, this is nice. And again, like Emily said, like, I wasn't in that mode of like, oh my gosh, I can't stop stressing about this something, and I just, like, can't, calm down. But now that I know that does have, like, a positive effect for me, I can now going forward, if I find myself in that situation, I feel more confident in knowing that that's a tactic that I can try to de-stress.
Can you guys really remember a time where you had to, did you find that with stress you had to start teaching yourself it, or did you find that kind of other people in your life, even friends, or older parental figures kind of offered those stress relief tactics to you?
I wish that I had learned some things that I knew worked for me sooner. I did have some resources shared with me when I was younger by my therapist, but they didn't really work for me. And like they mostly involved like mindfulness and sort of like imagining things happening, specifically with like, from what I recall was imagining you have sponges at the bottom of your feet and they're draining the negative emotions into the sponges. And for me, I was just like, that's stupid. Like, and to be fair, I was like 12, so like I was like, girl, what? I'm not gonna imagine sponges on my feet, And so that just didn't work for me. And like maybe it would more now. I haven't tried that again since then. But at the time, I was like, no, this sucks, and I'll never figure out what works for me ever, But that's not true. There's a lot of different things you can try, but unfortunately, because stress is something we don't talk a lot about, that wasn't really something that I knew that I could try more things.
In like my house growing up, like I could see the stress between like my parents and between like different situations in my life, but it wasn't something that was really talked about at all. But when I was in middle school, a teacher introduced me to journaling. And I think that really helped me kind of like connect with myself, connect with my days, connect with like how my feelings were impacting my days. And I think that was really beautiful to like kind of learn that I can journal, or I can just scribble, or I can just glue things in a book that make me feel something, Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think stress is like taught enough as it should be. I think it's a topic that like is really important, especially like in adolescence, like when you're really young, because it's like things like the sponge thing. Maybe today, like you could center yourself and be like, okay, I'm the sponge. I'm releasing into the sponge. But when you're 12, it's kind of like, I just need a solution for these bad feelings, And like, I really resonate with like kind of like being skeptical of those kind of things because it's hard. It's hard to lean into that.
Totally. I mean, I like up until I was 16, probably, I'd never really been offered stress relief tactics. And like you said, it's like stress is a big emotion. Even now, where we have an understanding of what we feel and how to address it, it's still a big emotion. Absolutely. And it still is so prevalent in our lives. And as a kid, it's like even grander and on a whole nother scale, because you can't always contextualize it how you need to. And so it's like even more important, I feel, at a younger age to kind of be exposed to some of these tactics. And I just find it interesting that for such a common emotion and for an emotion that is never not going to exist, it's so rarely spoken about. And it's like, you know, like the feet soaking up the negative emotions, you know, when you're younger, like you're a sponge. So you feel that parent's stress and you see like even teachers in a classroom, you can sometimes, if you're being observant enough, see that they're stressed and be like, you know, and then all of a sudden you're becoming stressed and then you don't know what to do with it. And it's like, hey, maybe if we allowed this conversation to happen, then we could all help each other through our stresses, instead of it kind of feeling like an isolating experience a lot of the time. Because it really isn't isolating.
Yeah.
We all be stressed.
We all be stressed. Yep. I think it's why conversations like this one that we're having are so important, because like being candid and raw and like honest about like the overwhelming feelings you feel can make somebody else feel less overwhelmed.
Totally.
Like hearing that you guys are stressed about very similar things to me, like it kind of takes a weight off my shoulder. And it's like also like I'm carrying the weight of your stress. You know what I mean? We talked about it, and like I don't know. Everybody stresses. Yeah. Everybody stresses, and it's normal and it's human.
It's so normal.
And it's a weird scientific reaction.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a crazy scientific reaction. But we got good reasons for bad feelings.
Good reasons for bad feelings.
No, I mean, we truly do. It's like there, you know, stress is always going to be something that's passed down from generation and offspring to offspring and evolution, because it's always going to be something that helps us survive in some way. You know, it is a benefit. And so we don't need to look at it as such a negative all the time. And maybe, you know, we can just be a bit kinder to ourselves when we do feel it.
Absolutely.
I think that is so important. I think we're at, you know, almost culturally, it's so normal to be angry or annoyed at yourself for feeling something that is completely uncontrollable to even feel. Like, it's not like you can sit there and stop yourself from even feeling this emotion in the first place. So just, it's okay.
Live it.
It's okay. Feel it. Live it. Make something positive out of it.
Exactly. You don't want to create more stress for yourself about the fact that you already have stress. Like, just let's talk about it. Let's talk about it more.
Stress.
We're really not that different. We're never really strangers, you know? It's like there's always something we can connect on, and stress is one of those things, and we can really help each other through it.
Absolutely. And I think also like that brings back the conversation of like what works for you and what doesn't with stress. Like how you guys totally differed on cooking.
Yeah.
Like that's like one of those things where it's like something can be a release for someone and not for someone else, and it's like that's what makes it so normal and so human. You know what I mean? Everybody's different, but at the end of the day, we all feel these big feelings.
Right. And that's a really cool thing. And like you said earlier, like asking, where's that middle ground that you can find? Like trial and error really is just so important. Like being willing to try Zuzu sponge technique, or dunking your head in water, or Emily's journaling, or like meditation, whatever it is. Being willing to try it, and then just sticking with the things that are working, and not being angry that certain things aren't working. You know, it's okay. It's all good. Not everything's gonna solve every problem. You know?
This is a great conversation, guys.
Yes, it is. Shall we cheers?
Yeah.
We should cheers to that.
Cheers to being kind to ourselves, stress relief tactics, and honest communication.
Cheers to that.
Cheers! Twink.